Hillary has been lengthening her excuses as to why she lost the election. She didn't really lose the election. It was stolen from her by, I think it's up to 24 different excuses she has now. Number 24 is content farms in Macedonia. And as I said, my grandfather was a Macedonian content farmer, and we often think about, gathering on the porch and recalling the old days on the Macedonian he never thought that the old content farmers he left behind in Macedonia would one day steal the U.S. presidential election. They are gnarled, hard-working Macedonian peasants, and the way they were able to reach out and
I'm recording now, and I know I'm seeing this Katamarini article here that says that Phil Reeker is now in Greece and he's going to be in Macedonia, but the trip's going to last until Saturday, which seems like an awful long time.
Next Saturday.
Next Saturday. That's a week. I don't see him staying in the region for a week. That's very strange if that's true. But anyway, I don't know.
Isn't there anything else happening around the world?
No, there's absolutely nothing else happening around the world. So, and I don't have a monologue prepared for this. So,
I mean, listen, this was supposed to be like a joke monologue from the start, and it's impossible to make jokes. I mean,
that's true.
We have a transvestite racketeering Gorce Kamchev and stealing his yacht, and then a guy who was apparently involved in all this is burning dollar bills on.
Who was that guy?
I never heard about him before. Some some oil company importing, I guess. I think he runs like gas stations across the country. Something linked with Albania, I heard. Honestly, had never heard about him before, but all of a sudden he's buying all these cars that Orca drove, and
okay, but he is tied in with the whole racket case and Boki and Katica, right?
Well,
as far as you know,
if I have to guess, I suppose it would have been too much if they take the car from Orca Kamchev, like what's it? I don't even know how much these cars cost, like a Maybach or a Bentley, and then just give it to Traice Zaev, Zaev's cousin.
Right.
So I think it's a bit too directly. So I suppose they needed somebody in between to buy the car from. I'm making quotation marks from the car from Orca and then sell it to Traice.
Wow!
You see? And this is like the middleman.
Yeah.
You can't just take the stuff. The guy you're racketeering. You can't just be driven his car the next day if you're the cousin of the prime minister. It's a bit too obvious.
It's too obvious even for them.
You gotta be subtle, even though their idea of subtle was sending a transvestite to extort money from you. So
yeah.
Oh God.
Oh, well, this thing is just unfolding in so many different ways, and now so Phil Reeker is gonna be there. Johannes Hahn is gonna be there this week. I'm finally starting to see. I saw Valerie Hopkins from the Financial Times retweet a Balkan Insight article that talks about this whole affair. So, Poleka, these people that have supported the government of Zoran Zaev all these years and have heaped praises and praise upon them are finally starting to say, you know what, this kind of looks pretty bad. But what's the? I mean, I'm trying to follow it as I can. You're obviously much closer. And I see that Branko Gierowski is going to finally reveal some of the name. He's going to reveal the names of these people he's been calling by code names of Kiki and Leaky and Freaky and Weaky and whatever their names are. All the keys tomorrow. I guess we should tell folks, Cvetin, that we're recording this on Sunday, July 21. So it'll drop tomorrow, July 22, and that's when Branko said he's going to reveal all these names. What do we know as of today, Sunday, July 21, about this whole sordid affair?
Hey, it's going to be a drip, drip, drip. I mean, this is being revealed in installments, so there's bound to be much more to come. But I mean, we're so far we have Boki arrested. the owner of One TV, a guy who was like this cross-dressing reality TV star in Serbia, and now the whole of Serbia is laughing at us, saying, "Can you believe, who turned out to be the main mobster in Macedonia? It was that idiot Boki we were all laughing at."
He has some deep personal problems that are going to have to be dealt with at some point in life, and I don't think his little term in this 30-day detention initially is going to help him solve any of those problems.
Yeah, it stopped being funny real fast. I mean, first of all, you're laughing your head off, and then you say, okay, I mean, this guy he's troubled. He's got issues. This is not funny.
And Katica, where is she?
She hasn't been seen. Apparently, she was at work on Monday, and then she submitted her tentative resignation, as soon as Boki was arrested. As soon as news broke that he was trying to make a run for Greece and that he was stopped at the Gevgelia border crossing.
Right.
Like an hour later, Katica resigns. And she cited, her desire to get out of the way, not to block our European Union accession talks, but in reality, I mean,
she panicked.
Who are you kidding?
Boy, yeah, she panicked. She panicked big time.
And nobody's seen her since. She had police go to the special prosecutor's office the same day, and allegedly to her house and to Boki's house, and they seized her phone. But then the police insisted that it was not. She was not being questioned. This was not a raid, but they just asked her for the phones. She said, "I have one of my phones. The other one, oh God, I lost it somewhere." and later her son said, Lazar said, she lost it while on a trip to Belgrade, so don't even bother looking for it around the house and with a metal detector. And then the police barged into One TV, the TV station which Boki set up like a year ago,
right,
and immediately hired all the big shot SDSM people like Borjan Jovanovski, Sasha Ordanovski, Jadranka Kostova, these, Aco Kabranov, they were putting the same gang back together from the A1 debacle.
Right.
And this time it ended just as badly, possibly even worse. So the police raided One TV. They went for Boki's office, but also Lazar Janev, who is the son of Katica Janeva, also works there apparently as head of marketing. So Boki 13, he hired the special prosecutor's son, and allegedly, according to one news site, he would go and this was their modus operandi. Boki and Lazar Janev, they show up at the businessman's office. They request a meeting. Mm-hmm. The businessman has already been charged by Katica Janeva or is about to be charged. They tell him, my mother, my friend, she filed charges against you. But if you pay enough money for my TV station, buy an ad campaign worth like $500,000 or more. This is like the low ball. Gerovsky puts the low ball at 200,000.
Overly priced advertising, right? Yeah.
Oh yeah. This was like a TV setup yesterday. Who would watch that? Especially, who would pay that much money for ads there? So if you pay this money, we can get Katica on the phone and she can assure you that she will go easy on you, she will drop the charges. And at times, allegedly, Lazar, Katica's son, would actually call her and she would speak on the speakerphone. And allegedly, this happened with their main target, who was Jordan Orca-Kamčov, the huge businessman. He's only seen like expansion, whether SDSM or VMR are in charge. He owns like a large stake. I think he's like the controlling stake in the Sistina hospital, the large private hospital, owns a bank in Bitola, owns farmland. He was in textile with his family before that. Construction, a lot of construction. And allegedly, he was charged with money laundering by Katica, along with Sasha Miyalkov, Gurevsky's cousin and Secret Service chief, along with Pandilevsky, the owner of Pelisterka, the large water bottling company in Bitola. So they essentially, Katica went after a bunch of businessmen, and she filed the charges after she was no longer legally allowed to do so. So everybody knew these charges will at one point, collapse.
Right.
But she still got all these people in detention. She filed the charges as Gruevski was resurfacing in Budapest. It was at exactly the same time. And Boki 13, he was announcing the arrests or the charges on Instagram while Katica was preparing them.
Oh.
And so she put them all in detention. And then apparently at some point, Boki and another also equally troubled accomplice, Zoki Kicet is his nickname. He's like a mid-sized businessman working with Orca before, with Orca Kamchev. He shows up at Kamchev's place, these two guys, and they demand 8 million, then 6 million, then 5 million if, 6 million if Katica drops the charges, 5 million if she only goes easy on them, gives Kamchev his passport back, yada, yada, yada. Obviously, Kamchev is recording all the discussions. Obviously, they get Katica on the phone and she speaks on the phone, on the speakerphone, so everybody can hear her, so they have her voice on tape. They Kamchev pays these two idiots 1.5 million euros, whether the Bentley is included or whether it was cash or, apartments, whatever form. But allegedly the sum was 1.5 million and he was supposed to go all the way up to 6 if Katica actually drops the charges completely. After a while, he was released from detention, and then after a while he was in house arrest, but then eventually got his passport returned to him. He was traveling with Vardar, cheering the team on in Germany. Everybody was, insisting that this is a mockery, how Kamchev is free to travel to Germany to watch the handball game. Everybody was asking Katica what happened here. So, it's... and at some point, these two idiots, even they realize they're being played and being recorded. Allegedly, Kamchev, who is also the Bulgarian honorary consul in Macedonia, apparently received some intelligence support from Bulgaria, political logistics, help with the wiretapping, which was apparently done without a warrant. So we have Katica's voice recorded, but again without a warrant, which is very ironic, given how she would now have to defend herself in court and say that the evidence is inadmissible because there is no warrant to record her, which was her entire thing going back several years, arresting people on illegally recorded wiretaps. But long story short, Kamchev played a number on them. He paid a lot of money apparently, but eventually got them all on tape and is about to bury them all.
Well, it seems to me, Cvetin, there's a couple of things here. First of all, it's kind of starting with what you just said. You paid him money, so you pay him in cash, or because obviously if he's transferring that kind of money, cash is one way, but electronic transfers are recorded, etc., and bank accounts where they, etc. I mean, the Obama administration was very good at sending pallets of cash to people, as we saw what they did with Iran, but that's. So I don't know if that's kind of the same format here or not. The second thing that kind of strikes me is that these folks, Katica and Boki and all the people involved, are kind of rank amateurs. This is a classic extortion racket. But what interests me, I think, is that because it's so Keystone Cops, almost in a way, they're not even smart enough to be good criminals. It seems that, to my mind at least, that somebody else is backing them up in case, what happened just happened. And so that leads me to ask the question of who else knew about this? Was it the prosecutor who brought the charges against Boki last week? Did she know about this before? Did Zoran Zaev know about this? I know that he said something about he told the prosecutor about this because Kamchev told him about this in April, and he told him. But the whole thing only broke after Branko Geroski started talking about this just a few weeks ago. Am I correct in that?
Yeah, I mean, Geroski, he was apparently briefed in detail by Vilma Ruskoska, the prosecutor, who is now the rival of Katica apparently, and her if Zaev has his way, her heir as a special prosecutor.
Ooh, catfight.
So Gerovsky,
Catfight.
yeah. So Gerovsky was given all the saucy details, and he was encouraged essentially to write, report. I mean, it would be too naive to believe that Gerovsky wrote a few articles a few weeks back, and then immediately the prosecutors decided to go after Katica because they heard something in the press. I mean, that's ridiculous. The case is built, and then you get a friendly journalist to provide political coverage, media, to cause the media outrage, which entices you to act. Gerovsky claims that this is just one case, that there are many other businessmen who were racketeered. He intimated that one of them is Tinex, the Tinex owner, the former mayor
Vladimir,
of Center, Todorovic.
Oh, yeah, sorry, yeah, right.
Todorovic?
Yeah, no, you're right, yeah.
And he mentioned other tricks, such as going to the mayor of Bitola and apparently Ohrid, and asking them to hand over real estate to Boki for a bogus charity he runs. And in one case, Gerovsky indicates it's Ohrid, but it's still unclear. Allegedly, this worked, and they were given like a valuable piece of land, of state-owned land, to build like a home for, children who can't read good and do other things good. And this was then immediately sold to developers for a huge windfall. They would racketeer mid-sized, small-sized businesses. Like Gerovsky was detailing some hotel owner who was racketeered and nearly died when he was asked to pay like 200,000 euros, which he says it's my annual turnover, not even profits.
Yeah.
And Gerovsky claims there are two high-level SDSM officials involved. He gave their names as Kiki and Friki. He made it very clear that Friki, it's very clear who they are, but for legal purposes, Zaev is threatening to sue people if they reveal the names. One of them, like a former Secretary General of SDSM, Alexander Kiratsovsky, he was asked if you're Kiki, and he denied, and he said Gerovsky is writing gibberish. So Gerovsky is supposed to reveal the names for real tomorrow, or if you're hearing this on Monday, like it might already have dropped. Then Friki is allegedly a female, still high-ranking official. The other guy was removed, which again jives well with. This is what Gerovsky said. This jives well with this being Kiratsovsky, who was removed as Secretary General recently, but we'll see tomorrow. The other is a woman. From what they're saying, it's apparently going to be one of the deputy leaders of the party, and but this doesn't happen without Zaev knowing about this. It's ridiculous. Come
on. And tell me more about, so going back to One TV, the TV station that Boki set up a year ago that became popular and attracted all the quote-unquote, using air quotes here, talent. You said Sasha Ordanovsky and Borjan, what's his last name, Jovanovsky?
Jovanovsky.
Yeah, all those folks. Have they...
I don't think he's related to Boki 14.
No,
I think he's not.
But have they all turned on each other yet and turned on Boki, etc.? Is the revolution devouring its own?
This also made me feel sorry for Boki, honestly. When they were all in A1 and there was this tax audit which was delayed bunches of times and then eventually had to happen, or Vemera said, okay, we're doing this. They were all with Velia Ramkovsky, the owner of A1. Yeah. This was in 2010. Borjan,
he's still in jail?
Kabranov, Chomovsky. No, he was released maybe even a year ago, some while ago. I think he served his sentence. It was a long sentence for fraud and tax fraud, but he was essentially also racketeering businesses. Like he owned like a chain of supermarkets. Heidi. So then, Heidi, named after his son. Heidi, yeah. And he would the owners of like this Swedish dairy company. They said, well, we signed a contract that he would be our distributor, but then he said, I'm going to run ads for you guys free of charge on my television. But then he shows up with millions a bill worth millions for advertising, which we never ordered. but then the judge sides with Velia and repossesses her entire company, destroys her company. So he would do something similar.
Right.
It was the same journalists doing the same, pulling the same trick with a TV station owner, and obviously counting on the backing of the police, the secret police, the party in charge, and judges and prosecutors. It was exactly the same blueprint. And but they all closed ranks around Velia. They fought for him bitterly, strongly.
Right.
They managed, all these journalists, they managed to spark early elections. It was, a valiant effort to save their boss. And on Boki, they just forgot about him the next day. It was pathetic. I mean, Sasha Ordanovsky is on vacation. He hasn't been heard since. He has this other scandal developing with his brother, which we discussed. Atsok Abranov and Jadranka Kostova said, well, we were going to resign anyway, or my contract was expiring and I'm not going to renew it. And then there was this Turtevsky, this lawyer who even opened the scandal about Ordanovsky's brother before that. And he was in a debate with Chomovsky, one of the journalists, in One TV and in A1, the guy who turned off the lights in A1. And they're talking, and Chomovsky was, I guess, trying to do something to help out a bit. And Turtevsky asks him, okay, you're all investigative journalists over there, like big shot guys, and you're all being paid like huge sums of money. None of you thought about asking Boki, excuse me, boss, I mean, where do you get the money to pay us for our salaries? And Borjan was the worst of all. Borjan actually, he didn't say anything about Boki, but immediately he turned on Katica Janeva. He was accusing Katica Janeva of being stupid, of being, you're going to destroy our fight, our colored revolution, being such an idiot. His friend, the foreign minister, Nikola Dimitrov, made a similar comment, and Borjan was immediately on board with this. And even a news site which is close to Borjan is actually publishing reports declaring Boki a criminal. And Borjan was collecting allegedly thousands of euros in monthly salary until like the day before. So nobody's protecting him. Even there is like a skeleton crew left over in the TV station, and even they're not trying to protect their owner. They're like reading generic news from other news sites, from news agencies which declare Boki to be a criminal. So they're not even trying to protect him. Beginning with the first day, they completely all abandoned the poor guy. It's really horrible betrayal, which makes me feel a bit sorry about the poor cross-dressing bastard.
Oh no, you shouldn't feel sorry for him. He called down the thunder and now he's got it. So to quote Wyatt Earp. All right. Yeah. So that's quite a bit of info there. Where do things go from here? We said so. Phil Reeker is going to be there this week. Johannes, use Balkan tactics. Hahn is going to be there this week. They're gonna listen to everybody. Are they gonna say anything? Are they gonna read the riot act to the government behind the scenes? What's next?
What can they say? I mean, Zaev is trying to get away he's in damage control mode. He's trying to say that it's enough to arrest Boki and this other Zoki Kishes guy, and that there is no need to charge Janeva. I mean, Ruskoska is not charging Janeva. Zaev insisted that he trusts her character, he believes in her, and presumption of innocence is apparently a big thing all over again. But it's a drip thing. So on Monday, sure. we're supposed to get the names of these other two people. There are reports that the vehicles which were extorted out of businessmen were driven by Zaev's cousin, Traicha Zaev. So this is a direct link. Right. Officials in the SDSM party had are sitting on the board of Boki's charity or are renting office space to Boki. There are hundreds of pictures of Boki attending diplomatic events with ambassadors, hugging this SDSM minister, that mayor, Zaev himself. I mean, this kind of thing goes straight to the top. There is no avoiding this. When they were threatening businessmen, they were saying Katica has the power, but Katica can order an arrest, but the arrest has to go through the Interior Ministry. You have to have judges who would approve this. I mean, it's much bigger than Katica alone.
Right.
So Zaev is trying to play dumb. They're all insisting, well, listen, Katica was one of our own, and Boki, even though they were denying, they were insisting she's an independent prosecutor. But now they're saying, okay, you see, we're going after our own people. This means justice works. This was Nikola Dimitrov's position, Borian Jovanovsky's position. Look, the justice and the rule of law finally works. But I mean, it's really too surface level for anybody to buy this. I mean,
there's that. Plus, once they start rounding up more people, or the 30 days initially in detention starts dragging on, and things start happening in detention and prison, and people start to sing and squeal, and then the drip then becomes a flood. So and I think that's probably what's going to happen. And then you throw into the mix all of the other stuff that's going on. The continuing, this is something I wrote in a column I just published, the continuing erasure of Macedonia and the Macedonian identity. I saw, this is slightly off our current topic of the scandal, but the army of Macedonia having to remove the patches from the uniforms that say, Army of Macedonia, and then and what they're going to replace that with, well, Army of the Republic of North Macedonia or something like that. So anyway, all this is continuing, this quote-unquote erasure of Macedonia's identity and name and history and heritage and culture, for which this current government was initially put into power by the Western elites, who then promised, peace and sweetness and light eternal, with Macedonians happily singing hosannas and hallelujahs as they danced into NATO and the EU. And yes, Macedonia will get into NATO probably by the end of the year, early next year, but EU is far off. And this whole scandal, frankly, earlier in June we were talking about how Macedonia might, quote unquote, I'm using air quotes, might get a date for EU accession talks in the fall without Albania, etc. But now this whole scandal is going to make the doubters within the European Union, France, the Netherlands, etc., take another second look, a third look, frankly, and say, these guys ain't ready for this.
Yeah, Albania is looking pretty good right now compared to it. I mean, listen, I don't care about the reputation of the EU and the US here. They are the ones who imposed Katica on us and Zaev. They insisted that Katica is this huge, this great small town graft fighter and corruption, a bane of corrupt politicians, blah, blah, blah. And we all said, no, she's an idiot. She can't read from the text you in the embassy wrote her. I mean, this is literally on this famous video where she struggles the journalist allows her to read the answer, and she can't do it. She has to go sentence by sentence. And if they, if Phil and Johannes play ball with Zaev and say, okay, we messed up the first time, but this time this prosecutor really means it. She is really impeccably, principled, and we're going to pay her even more than Katica, so she will not be corrupt. I mean, these are all the arguments we heard about Katica and her appointment, and now they want to do the same thing with Vilma Ruskovska, who was, by the way, protesting in the Colored Revolution protests. She put in prison, political prisoners like Mitko Chavkov and Yana Chinto in this April 2017 case. She's completely communist SDSM person. I mean, whatever Zaev tells her, she would do it. And, if Phil and Johannes want to do this, fine, they can insist, okay, everybody vote for Vilma this time. Vilma is the new Katica. it's their reputation. They're going to lose it entirely. I mean, people are just going to, keep giving up and walking away from here. That's it. I mean, we're going to... Okay, if this happens, I would even want us to join the EU and with this type of people. I mean, imagine all the graphs we'll be doing once we're in. Or imagine all the NATO secrets these people will be selling once we join NATO. I mean, if they want to keep Zaev running the place no matter what, fine by me.
Right.
This is my passive-aggressive approach to this situation.
Oh, goodness. And we thought, and people thought summer was going to be boring. Are people, anybody going on vacation? I mean, is the parliament in session? No, they're on vacation now, right?
No. Yeah. No. Rdanovsky had this famous last words article. He wrote, I'm off for vacation. Summer looks like it's going to be calm, but autumn is going to be big, brutal. So I'll be back in time, see you all in September. I'll resume my articles. And like a few days after he wrote this, his brother was found out, in this Indian stolen intellectual property scandal that he stole like 250,000 euros from the Innovations Fund, this notoriously corrupt institution.
This is Vancho Bordanovsky.
Vancho, presenting stolen Indian device as his own. And like a week later, Sasha Ordanovsky, he was very close to Katica Janeva. He was defending her and whatnot. And like a week after he wrote this, his TV station is collapsing. His friend, the prosecutor, is suspected. His TV station owner is in prison, and he literally just wrote like, it's gonna be a calm summer. We'll resume this in autumn.
Oh boy, did he get it wrong?
Famous last words.
Yeah. Man, I don't know. Well, I mean, just on this scandal, which is going to be the gift that keeps on giving, I think. Looking at it from the standpoint of all those, the non-Macedonian crowd that supported the installation of Zaev and his government, and watching their reaction to it. We still haven't seen, James Kerr Lindsay and Florian Bieber, Daniel Serwer, Dimitar Bevchev, whatever his name is, all those guys, they still haven't commented on this, at least on Twitter, that I haven't seen. And, at some point, they're going to have to, I think they're going to have to say something. But I did think it's interesting that Valerie Hopkins, at least, who is on the media side of this group of Western elites, retweeted the Balkan Insight article.
Yeah, but that's the same article which used these comments, which said like she was checked. I mean, she's suspected. She's investigated, not checked. They were trying to use all these niceties and obfuscate the situation in these fancy words. And yeah, you're right. All the other people are quiet. I mean, Andrew Byrne, who wrote this article about Katica Janeva being Beyonce in the Balkans, he's apparently left journalism. There are these BBC articles. So, people were pinging the journalists who were writing these hilarious articles, just asking them, well, are you going to revisit this? Are you going to come? And no, it's a complete omerta. It's the vow of silence about the whole thing.
We'll see.
Which just shows you their narrative. I mean, again, I don't care if Reeker and Hahn and all these journalists come tomorrow and keep insisting that, okay, no, Boki is in prison, that's enough, and let's go with the new prosecutor and let bygones be bygones. Well, before they were insisting that Gruevski is persecuted for telling that there is a loud protest in front of the Center Municipal building, and he's like half joking, saying if somebody slaps the mayor, fine. But now we have audio tapes of an SDSM mayor actually beating and torturing a person in his office in Shutka, the Roma mayor. Everybody's like, nah, who cares? Because, Zaev is on our side, who cares? I mean, it's they've zero credibility left, even with colored revolution people. Some of them are pretending to be dumb and not to understand the situation. Well, it's a complicated case of corruption. No, it's very straightforward. We just explain it in like 20 minutes. Others are saying, I'm so angry right now. Katica lied to me. But then, there was one girl who had a comment like this. But then, like, in a few tweets down, she says, but Vilma looks smart and accomplished to me. Like, oh, God, like, there is no helping some people. There is no talking to some people. And some are just posting pictures of nature and wildlife and relaxation time, even though everything is collapsing. And there was even one who was, all of us on the conservative side and many of the independents this is all we're talking about on social media. But there is one group in SDSM, they're going after us who are talking. They're not talking about the scandal, but they're digging up skeletons in the closet for us who aren't talking about this. Like, okay, you want to address the pressing matter at hand, not go back like 10, 15, 20 years. It's they're trying to orchestrate something like pushback on the social media, but it's indefensible.
Right.
They invested so much in this person, and she just messed it up so completely. We can't even imagine.
Well, and we haven't even discussed. Let's assume for the moment that that she is going to be officially charged at some point soon. Then that casts a big doubt and question marks all over the place on all of the cases that the Special Prosecutor's Office has been dealing with, that they've got convictions for, etc. So, and that's going to create a whole nother set of problems for both the government and those who supported the government and the Special Prosecutor's Office. So that has yet to even begin.
Yeah, the prosecutors, they were they were just as fast as the journalists in Boki's television in forgetting him. Like, Boki, never heard of her. and the prosecutors in Katica's office, they were even faster. I mean, they held a press conference on Tuesday to insist that everything else is legit. Although this one case is like a complete shit show, but everything else is fine. We were up to the highest ethical standards in all other dealings, even though we were working under this now apparently hideously corrupt person, Katica Janeva, but everything else is fine. Please keep us at our jobs. And they completely threw her under the bus. It was glorious. They had Lencha, the blonde, in the trio on the t-shirts they were having. She led the press conference. And, you gotta hand it to the other one, to the brunette, to Fatime Fetai. She's Albanian. And, there is this legend that Albanians have like this besa, like this. They're trustworthy. This reputation has taken quite a beating lately, but Fatime was defending Katica Janeva in the strongest possible terms like a few months ago in an interview with Ordanovsky on Boki's television. So she was defending Katica, insisting that, if they remove Katica, she's the proudest, the best, the bravest person. She stood, she carried this entire institution on her back, etc. So for Fatime, it would have been really ugly if she joined in the defenestration of Katica. So she was not at the press conference. So she is the one person who is kind of like looking good at this point. The other person is Sasha Politico, this lunatic journalist. All the journalists who were dividing, sharing Boki's money, taking Boki's money, they all turned their backs on him. Sasha tried for a few days. He was protecting the boss. He doesn't even work in the TV station. Allegedly, he was bought like a used up BMW by Boki, and this is why he protects him. This is what Gerovsky says. But he was doing his darndest. He's completely crazy, but he was trying. So Fatime and Sasha Politico tried, but the award for the sleazeball of this entire saga goes to Lila Stefanova. She's a prosecutor, and while Katica was, I don't know what she was doing there. Fatime and Lencha, they were the pretty faces, the blonde and the brunette.
Yeah.
But Lila was allegedly the brains behind the operation. Like, all the charges would go through her. She would write up the charges. Even, other people would select the targets. You go after Gruevsky, you go after Mijalkov, you go after Miliana Kievsky. I mean, this was clearly done in the embassies and in SDSM. But, she would write up the charges so they would stick. They wouldn't be like completely illiterate, considering that the evidence you're using is illegal wiretaps, inadmissible in any court in the world. So Lila was allegedly interrogated, or the police calls this like a informative discussion about Boki. This was reported on Monday, and then on Tuesday, all the press, they are watching with their, jaws dropping as Lynch is throwing Katica under the bus. They're thinking what we are going to do with all the T-shirts we ordered, and the mugs with the faces of the three of them. Now we have to Photoshop Katica out, and then all the press is turning to Lila and asking, okay, have you been questioned? Is it true that they spoke to you? And Lila steps to the podium and says, I have to inform you that I didn't have authority to sign anything. So she's literally saying, okay, I wrote everything, but I was preparing the charges, but Katica was the idiot who was signing them in the end. So all the blame is now officially with her. So, you'll never get me. There is no smoking gun for me. This was like the most brutal betrayal you could ever imagine. She all that was lacking was that she used the word which Borjan used for Katica, like this idiot was signing everything. So, haha.
Oh.
It was glorious. It's like a Shakespearean play, honestly.
Hey, let's. I think we've covered quite a bit on this current scandal, and I want to get to we do have farmers picks, believe it or not, and I want to get to those. But I got one question for you, and I actually don't know the answer to this. Where does the name Boki 13 come from?
I don't know. He started showing up in these reality shows in Serbia and doing songs. He would hold concerts, and Bojan Jovanovski is the name. Boki is short for Bojan, 13? Obviously. 13, like a scandalous person. You use the. I guess 69 would have been too much. So he went with it.
Well, okay, if that's why he chose it, then he certainly got it.
Yeah, he would do all sorts of crazy stunts. He would say he would demand that he's allowed to adopt children, and he said, "I'm going to adopt one, a Macedonian, a Roma, an Albanian, and one child with special needs." Everybody was like, "Oh,
Child Protect CPS here, Child Protective Services wouldn't allow that to happen because he's a freak."
CPS should have worked with his parents, who are apparently not less freakish than him. I mean, his father was the official owner of the TV station. His mother was, or her mother, I don't know if he's considered a boy or a girl by now.
What are his current preferred pronouns?
Yeah. She was working in the welfare ministry. She was being appointed to positions by SDSM. He started showing up money all of a sudden. He's apparently smuggling luxury clothing items into Macedonia. He would have a retinue of these sponsorushi, as we would call them, girls, semi-famous Instagram tots or something. And but then I think I've only seen him in person once.
I'm so sorry.
And I think this was the last time I was at any of the diplomatic events in Skopje. It was the British embassy. I wouldn't. You
don't get invited to those anymore, do you?
Anymore. Some still do. I brushed off a bunch of them in no uncertain terms. So anyway, I remember it was 3 or 4 Vimera people there, and we were clustered together. And there's 200 Katica Janeva type people, and SDSM people, and Soros people, etc. And Garrett walks up to us, the British ambassador, who is now in Kyrgyzstan, Kazakhstan, one of the stans, after he helped turn Macedonia into Zaevistan. And he approaches us, and we're joking, haha, you have to talk to the, you have to give us equal airtime, everybody else is SDSM, you have to talk to us for half an hour now, haha. And he's explaining something mid-sentence, and at the moment Boki appears, And I remember vividly, like Charlie, he cut off in the middle of the sentence, said, "I'm sorry, gotta go," turns and sprints toward Boki.
Funny.
And next second he's taking selfies with
Wow.
Boki. And we're all like, he did not do
Wow.
that. I mean, okay, leaving us for the prime minister, fine. But for Boki in mid-sentence, like, no, I mean, all of these people, they considered, like Katica, Boki, Zaev, they all believed that they're untouchable because they had all this favor bestowed upon them by the diplomats, as you wrote in your latest column. They got hubris.
Yep.
And my God, it's a very nice example of poetic justice.
Oh, this has been exhausting, frankly.
Incredible.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
let's take a short break and then come back with and I don't know what music we might put in here. We'll have to be creative there. Or
I'll try to look up some of Boki's songs. I think he had a song or something.
the
Endure it right now. This is apparently a song which Boki 13 recorded at some point, and it's dedicated to Caligula, to Caesar. Wait, was Caesar Caligula the same person?
No, well, the Caligula, I forgot his proper name, but he was a Caesar, so...
yeah, but it was a different Caesar, right?
So.
Well, I just thought, I mean, considering how many daggers are now sticking in poor Boki's back, I think that he had a fitting choice of a song item. But again, I mean, I'm not even kidding. This is really a sad thing for. I mean, this kid needed help
majorly, still needs help.
And what he got instead was people using him to carry the money from point A to point B for them. Oh well, it's the part of the podcast where we go to our farmers' picks. Jason, we didn't really need to prepare for this, given how much material we had to work with. Did you find time to do farmers'
yes,
picks?
I did. I found it the last month. We didn't do any show notes. We don't got no show notes. We don't need no show notes. We don't need no stinking show notes. I found something. Actually, I found it last week. It's believe it or not, I don't sing the praises too often of the New York Times. But they had a very nice article, July 15, about the Church of St. George in Corbinovo. Yeah, thank you. And it's about the kind of the restoration that's going on there. And the church is famous in large part for the one of the frescoes is the Archangel Gabriel, who appears on the Macedonian 50 dinar note and now the 50 dinar coin, I believe. It's just a very nice article, even though it says North Macedonia throughout, which is unfortunate. But it's good history and talking about some of the beauty and the culture that the ancient culture that is Macedonia. And so it's just one of those great articles that has nothing really to do with politics, although it does talk a little bit about Prespa and whatnot. But anyway, I recommend it, and we will put it there in the description. That's mine.
Yeah, the article was something like I think they overinvested in they're doing this in Prespa because this is where the treaty was signed, and they were discussing all about how it opens the European future for Macedonia,
blah, blah.
yada yada. But they had probably the best typo ever because they were interviewing Borian Jovanovski, the journalist, and they wrote in Bojan Jovanovski, which was
I didn't even notice that. I'll have to go back and look at it. But actually, the church. This is interesting. So the church was, I think it was built or begun, or the frescoes were started in 1191. Okay, so that's over 800 years ago, and you want to talk about Macedonia has a rich and detailed history and heritage and culture, which is something that the current government is trying to erase, together with their Western elite partners. But this just goes to show you, Macedonia, I mean, 800 years, the United States certainly didn't even exist 400 years ago, let alone. So anyway, it's one of those great articles that talks a lot about Macedonia's rich history, culture, and heritage. So we'll put it up on the description. And so, Cvetin, what's your farmer's pick?
Yeah, I mean, there is no other choice. I'm going to go with the N1 documentary on Katica Janeva, the Charlie's Angels, the infamous documentary done by some USA chick here in Skopje, which in 15 minutes she was given access to the special prosecutor's office. She was given footage of Nikola Gruevski and Miliana Kievski entering the building, completely humiliating the people. Completely uncritically details how, Katica is this huge crime fighter and how everybody she's going after are so corrupt and crooked. Everybody in Vimera are criminals. She ends the documentary with this dramatic text going, Vimera diplomat is the richest party in the world or in Europe, whatever. And Macedonia is one of the smallest countries in Europe. And but we have all this famous footage, like when Katica and Lince and Fatima, they are eating pizza and Fatima is smoking and she's flirtingly calling the suspects, like, hey baby, you want to see me? You'll see me in court soon, haha. Everybody's laughing. This completely depraved judicial thoughts. And you can just imagine they're now doing this to Katica Janeva as we speak. After they decided they're going to turn their backs on her, this is this really shows them in true
Revolution color. Always devours its own. So, well, interesting. You know what? I have a feeling, Cvetin, we're going to be talking about this again next week.
Oh yeah, maybe we finally do this a daily.
Yeah, or we this will be a separate podcast dedicated to the racket. Anyway, well, we'll get a few more things in there next week, I'm sure. I hope. But as always, great talking with you.
You too, buddy. Take care.